Hey everyone, Elizabeth here. The Last Laugh delivers stories that leave you speechless. If you're here for it, hit subscribe and let's go. I should have known better than to show up to Mother's Day brunch at the Garden Terrace. The restaurant my mother chose cost $85 per person for the special occasion menu, and she made it clear on our family group chat that I was expected to cover my own plate. Unlike your sister, you don't have children to support, Emma. You can afford it. That was my mother. Patricia Winters, 58, perfectly coiffed, and perpetually disappointed that her youngest daughter had chosen a career over a husband and 2.5 children. My older sister Vanessa sat beside her, 7 months pregnant with her third child, glowing in a maternity dress that probably cost more than my monthly car payment. Her husband Derek nodded along to whatever Mom said, playing the role of perfect son-in-law. "Emma, darling, you made it," Mom said as I approached the table, her tone suggesting she'd half expected me not to show. "We already ordered appetizers. You'll have to catch up." I slid into the empty chair, the one at the far end, naturally, and smiled. "No problem. Happy Mother's Day, Mom." "Vanessa." "Happy Mother's Day," Vanessa echoed, though technically she was a mother too. But this day was really about celebrating Mom, and by extension, Vanessa's impending motherhood of 3. I was just there. Aunt Marie arrived 10 minutes later in a cloud of expensive perfume, followed by my cousin Rachel and her 2 kids. More hugs, more air kisses, more emphasis on the mothers and future mothers at the table. I ordered a coffee and prepared myself for the inevitable commentary. It started innocently enough. Vanessa's ultrasound photos. Derek's promotion at the bank. Rachel's daughter's acceptance into a prestigious preschool that cost $32,000 per year. I listened, commented appropriately, and checked my phone discreetly under the table. 3 emails from my agent. 2 from my speaking manager. 1 from Forbes confirming final details. I silenced my phone and focused on my poached eggs. "So, Emma," Aunt Marie said, her voice cutting through the chatter about baby names. "Still at that little marketing job?" I'd learned years ago not to correct them. "Yes, still there." "That's nice. Steady work." She took a sip of her Bellini. "But tell me, when are you going to settle down?" "You're what, 31 now?" 32, I said evenly. 32. Mom interjected, as if I'd just announced a terminal diagnosis. "Emma, darling, you need to start thinking about your future. Your biological clock is ticking." "I know, Mom." I'd heard this speech approximately 347 times since turning 30. Vanessa leaned forward, her hand resting protectively on her belly. "I just worry about you, Em. You're always working. When do you have time to meet anyone?" Derek and I were married by 26. "Everyone's path is different," I said, using the phrase I'd perfected over years of these brunches. "But you must want children," Rachel pressed. "All women want children eventually." I smiled and said nothing. What was I supposed to tell them? That I'd built a consulting business that generated $1.2 million in revenue last year? That I'd been invited to speak at 3 international conferences in the past 6 months? That Forbes had named me one of their 30 under 30 in marketing and advertising, and the official announcement was dropping in exactly 4 days? They wouldn't believe me. Or worse, they'd find a way to minimize it. 3 years ago, I'd told them about a major campaign I'd led that won an industry award. Mom had said, "That's nice, dear, but awards don't keep you warm at night." Vanessa had added, "Maybe focus less on work and more on your personal life?" Aunt Marie had actually said, "Career women always regret it in the end." So I'd stopped sharing. Let them think I was still a mid-level marketing manager at a regional firm, making maybe $65,000 a year. Let them think my modest apartment in the city was all I could afford, not the strategic choice of someone who spent 200 days a year traveling for speaking engagements and consulting contracts. The truth? I was the founder and CEO of Winters Strategy Group, a boutique consulting firm specializing in digital transformation for Fortune 500 companies. My base consulting rate was $15,000 per day. I'd keynoted at South by Southwest last year and had a TED Talk scheduled for August. My book on disruption marketing had been optioned by a major publisher with a $250,000 advance. But to them, I was just Emma. Single Emma. Childless Emma. Emma who'd probably never figure out what really mattered in life. "You know what your problem is," Aunt Marie continued, warming to her subject as the mimosas flowed. "You're too independent. Men don't like women who are too career-focused. You need to make yourself more approachable." Derek nodded sagely, as if he had any insight into my life whatsoever. "Marie's right. Maybe try softening your image a bit? I know at the bank, we prefer women who are more team-oriented." I smiled into my coffee. Derek worked in retail banking and made $72,000 a year. I'd earned more than that in the past 3 weeks. "Emma just needs to find someone who appreciates her," Vanessa said in that patronizing tone she'd perfected since becoming a mother. Although at her age, she might need to be less picky. The good ones are all taken. I'm perfectly happy with my life, I said calmly. Mom sighed. That's what you say now. But when you're 40 and alone, you'll understand what we mean. Look at your cousin Jennifer, she focused on her career, and now she's 43 and desperate. She had to freeze her eggs. Maybe Jennifer is happy too, I suggested. No woman is truly happy without children, Mom declared with the authority of someone who'd read exactly 0 studies on the subject. It's biology. My phone buzzed in my lap. I glanced down discreetly. Sarah, Agent Emma. CBS This Morning wants you for a segment on disruptive marketing strategies. They're offering $8,500 for a 10-minute appearance. Filming next week. Say yes? I texted back a quick thumbs up and tucked my phone away. See, that's your problem right there, Aunt Marie said, having noticed my brief distraction. Always on your phone. Always working. When do you live, Emma? Where's your husband and kids? Rachel added, her 2 children currently glued to iPads at the table while she ignored them. That's what really matters. Not some job. The table fell silent, everyone turning to look at me with varying expressions of pity and judgment. This was it. The moment they'd been building toward all brunch. The collective intervention disguised as concern. Just work? Vanessa said softly, as if diagnosing a terminal condition. Oh, Emma. Everyone smirked. Even Derek, who'd met me exactly 7 times, felt entitled to join in the judgment. Rachel's kids didn't even look up from their screens. My phone buzzed again. And again. And then a 3rd time in rapid succession. I pulled it out, intending to silence it completely, but the preview of the first message stopped me cold. Michael Chen, speaking manager Emma. Forbes confirmed. You're officially announced as Forbes 30 Under 30 keynote speaker for their Miami summit. July 15th, $50,000 speaking fee plus all expenses. Congratulations. Samantha Wei, publicist. Forbes announcement goes live tomorrow at 6 a.m. Eastern Standard Time. They're calling you, the millennial marketing maven transforming Fortune 500 strategy. PR goldmine. Prepare for interview requests. David Park, business partner. The Anderson Corporation just approved your proposal, $500,000 for 6-month consulting contract. Largest deal we've ever closed. We need to celebrate. I stared at my phone, reading the messages twice to make sure they were real. Forbes 30 Under 30. A $500,000 contract. CBS This Morning. My TED Talk. The book deal. Everything I'd built over 7 years of 18-hour days and relentless focus. I looked up at the table. At my mother, who'd told me last Christmas that I was wasting my life. At Vanessa, who'd said I'd never understand true purpose without children. At Aunt Marie, who'd announced at Easter that I was basically a spinster. Emma? Mom's voice had an edge to it. I'm talking to you. Put the phone away. This is family time. I smiled. Just smiled. The same calm smile I used in boardrooms with CEOs who initially underestimated me. Actually, Mom, I need to take this. It's work. I stood up from the table. Work? Aunt Marie scoffed. On Mother's Day? See, this is exactly what we're talking about. You prioritize work over family. Some of us have to work for a living, Rachel added. I nodded slowly. You're absolutely right. Some of us do. I was typing a response to Michael when I heard a familiar voice behind me. Emma Winters? Oh my God, I thought that was you. I turned to see Christine Morrison, CEO of Morrison Tech, one of my consulting clients. She was dressed impeccably, having what looked like a business lunch with 2 other executives at a table near the window. Christine, hi, I said, genuinely pleased to see her. She crossed the restaurant in 4 strides and pulled me into a hug. I heard about Forbes. Congratulations. When were you going to tell me you made the 30 Under 30 list? Behind me, I heard my mother's mimosa glass hit the table with a clatter. The announcement is tomorrow, I said. But thank you. I'm honored. Honored? You earned it. That campaign you designed for us increased our customer acquisition by 340%. Our board is still talking about your presentation. She lowered her voice conspiratorially. Between you and me, I'm recommending you to 3 other CEOs in my network. Your rates are going up, I hope you know that. I laughed. My team and I are discussing it. Good. You're worth every penny. She glanced at my table, where my entire family sat frozen, staring at us. I'm interrupting your brunch. I just had to say congratulations. You're going to kill it at that Forbes keynote. Thank you, Christine. That means a lot. She squeezed my hand and headed back to her table. I turned slowly, phone still in my hand, and walked back to my seat. The silence was deafening. Mom had gone pale. Vanessa's mouth was slightly open. Aunt Marie gripped her Bellini like a lifeline. Derek looked confused. Rachel had finally looked up from her own phone. Forbes? Mom said faintly. 30 Under 30? I sat down and calmly placed my napkin back in my lap. Yes. The announcement goes public tomorrow morning. I'm giving the keynote address at their Miami summit in July. Keynote? Vanessa whispered. $50,000 speaking fee, plus expenses, I said conversationally, taking a sip of my now cold coffee. It's not my largest fee this year, but Forbes is prestigious. Aunt Marie's face had cycled through several colors. You give speeches? For money? I'm a consultant and keynote speaker. I own Winter's Strategy Group. We specialize in digital transformation and disruption marketing for Fortune 500 companies. I've been doing this for 7 years. Fortune 500? Rachel said. Like, big companies? Very big companies. My daily consulting rate is $15,000. Last year we generated $1.2 million in revenue. I kept my voice matter of fact, not boastful. Just stating information. I just closed a $500,000 contract this morning. Mom's hand shook as she reached for her water glass. $500,000? For a 6-month engagement with Andersen Corporation. It's our largest contract to date. Derek had found his voice. But you work in marketing. At some small firm. I own the firm, Derek. I'm the CEO. I have a team of 12 people. We're small but highly specialized. I turned to my mother. I've never corrected you because you never seemed interested. When I tried to tell you about my work, you changed the subject to my relationship status. Vanessa's face had gone from shock to something like desperation. But you live in that tiny apartment. I travel 200 days a year for work. I don't need a large space. The apartment is paid off, I bought it in cash 3 years ago. I paused. It's in Tribeca, by the way. It's worth about $1.8 million now. The waiter appeared, oblivious to the tension. Ladies, gentlemen, can I get anyone another round of drinks? Champagne, Mom said hoarsely. The most expensive one you have. We're celebrating, I told the waiter with a smile. I just found out I'm speaking at a Forbes conference. Congratulations, he said warmly before heading to the bar. Aunt Marie had recovered enough to speak, though her voice came out strained. Why didn't you tell us? We had no idea you were so successful. I tried. 3 years ago, I told you about winning the Innovation in Marketing Award. You said awards don't keep you warm at night, Mom. 2 years ago, I mentioned speaking at South by Southwest. You asked when I'd focus on finding a husband instead. I kept my tone neutral, just reciting facts. So I stopped sharing. We just wanted what's best for you, Mom said weakly. What you wanted was for me to fit your definition of success. Husband, kids, suburban house. I took another sip of coffee. That's fine for people who want it. Vanessa wanted it. Rachel wanted it. But I wanted something different. But you're alone, Vanessa said, and there was genuine distress in her voice now. I'm not alone. I have friends, colleagues, a community. I date when I want to. I travel constantly. I work with brilliant people on challenging problems. I smiled. I'm happy. Actually happy. Not performing happiness to meet someone else's expectations. My phone buzzed again. I glanced at it. Sarah, Agent TED Talk confirmed for August 12th. They want you for the main conference, not the satellite. This is huge. Call me. I looked up at my family. My TED Talk was just confirmed for the main conference in August. It's about disruption and authenticity in business. The champagne arrived. The waiter poured glasses for everyone, clearly thinking this was a happy family celebration. A toast, I said, raising my glass. To mothers. And to everyone finding their own path to happiness and fulfillment, whatever that looks like. They raised their glasses mechanically, still processing. Mom set down her glass with shaking hands. Emma, I had no idea. You should have told us. I did tell you. You weren't listening. You were too busy criticizing my choices. We were concerned, Aunt Marie said, but her voice lacked conviction now. No. You were judgmental. There's a difference. I stood up, pulling out my wallet. I placed $200 in cash on the table, more than enough to cover my meal and tip. I need to go. I have 3 interviews scheduled this afternoon about the Forbes announcement, and my publicist wants to prep me. Your publicist? Rachel said faintly. Samantha Way. She's excellent. Helped me book the CBS This Morning segment next week. I smiled at my mother. Happy Mother's Day, Mom. I mean that. But I won't be attending these brunches anymore where my life choices are treated as a problem to be solved. Emma, wait, Vanessa started. I'm not angry, I said calmly. But I'm done defending my life to people who refuse to see it for what it is. I'm successful. I'm fulfilled. I'm happy. If you can't celebrate that with me, then we don't have much to talk about. I walked out of the garden terrace into the spring sunshine, my phone already ringing with a call from my agent. Sarah, hi. Yes, I can talk. 6 weeks later, I was in Miami for the Forbes 30 Under 30 Summit. The keynote went better than I'd imagined: standing ovation, 3 investor inquiries afterward, and a request from Forbes to write a quarterly column. My phone had exploded with messages during the conference. 12 from my mother. 8 from Vanessa. Even 5 from Aunt Marie. All variations of, "We're so proud of you," and "We had no idea," and "We should talk." I'd responded politely to Mom, "Thank you. I appreciate that. When you're ready to know me as I actually am, not who you want me to be, I'd love to have a real conversation." She'd sent back, "I understand. I'm sorry, Emma. Truly sorry. Can we try again?" Maybe we would. Maybe she'd actually listen this time. Maybe she'd realize that success came in many forms, and that her youngest daughter had built something remarkable, even without a husband and kids. Or maybe she wouldn't. But that was okay too. Because I'd built a life I loved, surrounded by people who valued my work and my mind. I'd created something meaningful on my own terms. And I'd done it by refusing to shrink myself to fit someone else's vision of what a woman's life should look like. My TED Talk was scheduled for August 12th. The title, "The Success They Can't See: Building a Life Beyond Other People's Expectations." I had a feeling my family might actually watch this one,